Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Taylor, and this is part 2 of the Q&A from Instagram. If you have not yet had a chance to listen to last week, please take some time to do so. And again, I hope you listen to this with open ears, an open mind, and an open heart. Talking about all of this stuff is not easy, and you might not like my responses, and that's really the whole point of this podcast, is to talk about things that are uncomfortable and hard. This is still my space to speak my truth. And something came out this week after this Q&A was recorded that I want to touch on before we pick up where we left off. As much as I don't want to talk about Chris Harrison and everything that happened with my tweets, this is relevant. So, which again is me speaking out about... As much as I don't want to talk about Chris Harrison, everything that happened with my tweets would not have happened if I wasn't speaking out, advocating for him to be fired, to lose his position, which again is not me advocating for him to be canceled, just to not have that position of power after defending racist acts that didn't need defending, along with years of other problematic things. And earlier this week, news came out after we had already recorded this Q&A that he received $25 million and is leaving the show. And I just want to share some of my reflection as to what that was earlier this week when I learned about this. And basically that it's not surprising at all that he was able to leave on his own, and not surprised that he left with several millions of dollars. Immediately upon reading this, I just felt regret, and I felt stupid, frankly. It hit me a lot harder than I thought it would. And I knew, and I know I never had the power to really influence the situation. And just still seeing this as the outcome just didn't feel worth it. I felt major regret and a lot of frustration that I risked my entire livelihood, that I risked my reputation, that I risked my mental health, in speaking up on the situation, that it triggered people so much and pissed people off so much that they went and dug up old tweets to silence me. And it just didn't feel worth it. It didn't feel like any of this was worth that. And perhaps if folks are paying any attention or if they care, they can see that even if I had advocated for him to be canceled, it truly would not have mattered. It would not have caused him any harm. I do not hold that power or that influence. I don't. I'm an individual, 27-year-old, Black biracial woman who's self-employed. In perspective, it just all feels silly. Again, my tweets were all hurtful and wrong. Absolutely. I'm not saying that they were silly, but the way that all of it panned out, how it did, everything I've lost, and the trauma and the pain that all of it has caused. Part of me just really wishes I would have just shut the fuck up, honestly. I've always known that it is risky, especially for women of color, to speak out against systems, to speak out against people who are in positions of power, especially white men who are in positions of power. We literally see people get murdered for it. Like we know that this is risky. We know there's a reason why people don't speak up, especially why folks who are in marginalized communities, folks who are not receiving resources, folks who are systematically oppressed. There are reasons why sometimes they do not speak up in these ways. So yeah, seeing folks celebrate his departure felt really weird for me, just because I lost everything from this, honestly. We saw Rachel Lindsay have to leave Instagram because folks were so abusive on there. And I was 2 days behind her in wanting to leave Instagram. So it was just uncomfortable, and I unpacked a lot of the stuff with the news coming out. And I just wanted to touch on that since I had a few comments asking about it, and I'm sure that would have ended up here in the Q&A before we had recorded if this had came out. And again, this is my space and related to the questions that y'all asked. And yeah, like, this is really the only space I have outside of Instagram, which I don't really think they can like kick. I mean, I guess they could kick me off of Instagram, but this is the only space I have. This is the only, yeah. Anyway, we can get into part 2 of this Instagram Q&A. And again, the lovely Robert is hosting this Q&A, aka my chosen father. So again, feel free to check out last week's episode for part 1, and we'll get back to it now. So let's talk about it.
We have all these negative things. So it's like, yeah, I think as a society, we need to just create and support and speak to that community of love more than the haters, because that's what they're supposed to do. They're not going to change. We're not going to win them over. They wake up hating. That's just what they do. And we put so much energy trying to change them. And in the meantime, are we pushing away the support that we have? Mm-hmm. So just something to think about.
I think that yes, you're absolutely right. We give too much to the haters. And I think I have been so conditioned to defend myself at all times.
A learned behavior. I said something fantastic about my mama earlier. Mm-hmm. Emma says traits that she struggles with.
Yeah, and that I also now struggle with.
But we need to recognize that it's multi-generational.
Yes.
So it's your mom, your grandmother,
yes,
your great-grandmother.
Yes. So, and I think add on top of that, being a woman of color, being a young, educated woman of color, I've constantly felt the need to defend myself, to just exist in validity, mm-hmm, to just exist in acceptance. And even within my own fucking family. So I do hear that, and I do, know that allowing my pettiness to fuel my work is not sustainable, is not healthy for me. And I don't want to alienate or push away the people that do actually support the things I talk about and that like fuck with it. And I think there's also a bit of imposter syndrome, mm-hmm, that I struggle with, mm-hmm, of like speaking to that community validates the fact that I have that community. And mm-hmm, who am I? Why am I trying to influence people, right? Mm-hmm. Who am I to say that I have that community? Like, I'm not a whoever else with 1 million, 2 million, with whatever, who am I to say people support me and I have this community that I'm going to speak to, that I think, I think that's a part of imposter syndrome. And I just have been conditioned to defend and have, it feels like how we spoke about earlier of having the courage to speak out against these things, mm-hmm, even when it's like personally about you. I think, my previous framework of my pettiness fueling my work also felt a bit like using my voice, mm-hmm, felt a bit like, I'm not going to sit here and like have this person tell me, as of this last week, that education's a privilege and I need to be humble, mm-hmm, after just simply acknowledging I'm the first person in my family to go to college after being told by a different white woman, mm-hmm, that I know nothing and to pipe down. Mm-hmm. After simply saying we consume too much intensity, right, of news, right? So I feel in a way I'm speaking up for myself in all the ways that I didn't in, mm-hmm, the past, through speaking to maybe quote unquote haters, whatever. And also knowing that there's a balance of honoring my boundaries, of knowing another great thing I took away from that course of calling in on out culture with Sonia Renee Taylor and Dr. Loretta Ross was about our, the circle of influence, right? And I know that there are people kind of close to me, right, that like are maybe a little bit more in alignment with my beliefs and values and the things I advocate for that I can reach. And instead, a lot of the times I am reaching all the way out to the people way over there who like, that's not the way it goes. It doesn't go from, you all the way out there. Like you go to you, the person next to you, then that person goes to the person next to them and go to that. Like that is how like the sustainable and the effective, I think, change and influence happens. So I do think I need to shift that. And I also still, I do just block a lot and delete. But I think there are times where I do want to make a point and I do want to stand up for myself because in a way it also feels like I'm showing other people who maybe can relate to me, who maybe have been told themselves that they need to pipe down and feel like they can't be an outspoken, young, educated woman of color, that like, fuck that. Yes, you can.
But I don't think you're ever going to get that message across playing to the haters. And I'm going to call them haters. I have no problem because I think that is what they're on earth to do.
I don't think that's what they're on earth to do, but that's probably what they're on social media lurking to do.
Because I think if you're coming on social media and that's a different type of breed of human.
No, but Rob, I think that's literally also how humans have started to engage on social media. I think that's part of what social media has brought out in us.
Right, but I think
that's like how Twitter first fucking started.
Right, but I still think that even before all this, it still existed. I think it did. It's human nature, weirdly, in a sense, because it's like let's put it in your like a plant perspective. Like you got all these house plants at home, like they need water. Go
after my plants?
I am. They need watering. They need sunlight. And if you're focusing on the plants in the store, your plants are going to die at home. So I think that we need to. Not just you, I think, like, just shift from feeding and playing. If someone leaves a crazy comment, I wouldn't even, whatever. And you've kind of been doing this now. Just, some people might not be haters. They might just need to vent. Go ahead and vent. But
I'm a punching bag for people on social media to just project and throw all of their shit at.
Right, but that's not about you.
No,
that's
I know
about
that.
them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
but there are times where that is so much of a theme and of a pattern that I want to make known ain't cool. I'm not going to fuck with it, and it shouldn't be tolerated. And oftentimes it's a theme and a pattern that is not just something I experience, but that I see play out in our culture, in these different isms, in these different, problematic pieces and harmful pieces of our culture that I value fighting against.
Right. But you fight against that. So it's like racism. You don't fight against the individual. Because if it was up to the individual, yeah. So don't spend your resources fighting and trying to convince this person who just wants to fight.
To me, it's not about convincing that person though. It is rare that I go back and forth and I actually try to have a dialogue on there because oftentimes it's a waste of energy. It's a waste of time. But I will make it a teachable moment and speak to it.
Right. But not everyone that comes to school wants to be taught.
No.
So do you...
other people will learn from it. Other people will see and relate to it. And I know that for a fact.
So other people will learn that there's haters that don't want to learn?
No. Okay. They will learn I don't want to use the word clap back, but they will learn the subtext that goes unnoticed, that perhaps gaslights you, that perhaps triggers and shames you to where you feel like you know something's off there, but you don't exactly know how to put it into words. And I feel like I put words to that. Or at least I try to. So it's not like me going against that direct individual, but it's me saying when someone says this, this is what that's saying. And actually this, and that. And I think that's what people can take away. And that's why I try to make it like a teachable moment. I'm not going back and forth with that person of like, do you realize what you said is wrong?
Right.
Like, I don't care to actually sit there and have, like, you are not mine to hold in community, especially when you're coming on my page trying to shame and
right.
you know.
Right. That's why I said, like, you know, it's like people coming into your house.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, like people coming to your house, like, you know, you're da-da-da-da-da, which they would never do. So.
That's part of my boundaries that I shared.
All right, we're going to take a short break right here because pleasure is always the priority. It's always a vibe. And I'm so excited to have a discount to share with y'all from one of my favorite sex toy stores, Vanessa at bboutique.co. And they are the #1 rated sex toy store on Google. They have literally over 25,000 reviews, which has helped them quickly become one of the leading online sex toy retailers in North America. So if you don't trust my input, which I hope you do, you got 25,000 reviews to go to. And if that's not enough, Cardi B loves Vanessa vibrators. So she literally gifted them as all of her guests for their birthday party. So I mean, if you don't already want one, I don't know what else I can tell you, except maybe the fact that they have a new line that's all about discretion. And it's like one of the #1 things I always get asked when I talk about sex toys, when people are thinking about ordering them. Well, is it going to be discreet? Because while we know there's no shame and a little bit of self-pleasure, sometimes you just want to keep it a little private, okay? So I'm really excited to share with y'all Vanessa's new discreet line. It has taken Instagram by storm, and these little vibes come in these really, really cute clamshell charging cases. They literally just look like compact makeup cases. Like you would have no clue that there's a vibrator in there. And it's honestly very, very smart how they did this. Okay. It charges from the outside of the case. So you don't have to take it out of the case in order to charge it. It's waterproof. They use premium body safe materials. I personally own both the Discreet Air and the Discreet Vibe by Vanessa, and I can confirm like 100 out of 100. And if you want to check out their other toys too, guess what? This handy dandy discount is going to apply to all sex toys at B Boutique. You will get 15% off and free U.S. shipping with the code Taylor15. That's BBOUTIQUE.co. And you will get 15% off and free U.S. shipping with the code Taylor15. I mean, y'all, come on. Owning the same vibrator as Cardi B is like a major flex. So get your discretion on, get whatever other kind of sex toy you want to get. And don't forget to use the code Taylor15. Share it with your friends. We're having a shot girl summer, but some of us still want to stay inside, you know, and even if you outside, you still can give yourself your own pleasure. So be sure to check it out again at bboutique.co, and you will get 15% off and free U.S. shipping with the code Taylor15. Okay. And thank you so much to Vanessa. And now we can get back to the show.
All right. Here's the next question. Actually, I have a statement. I appreciate your voice on this platform, and I hope you feel able to keep sharing. See, this is who I want you to.
I know, and I do think it's nice. This is the nicest question box we should have ever had. I think it's also just a lot of people at this point have gone away, so it's a lot less. But yeah, it is. I do need to read it, and I think so often our brains, we just skip over it and we just go straight to like the piece that's problematic or the piece that's like hateful. Because
I think too, a part of us feels like if they love me, I won't lose them. But if I can have someone else, like if I can fight for someone else's love, like, but I think that's just a false narrative, because you can lose and you will lose that person that you don't invest.
Yeah. That's why you gotta love yourself.
And then, of course, there's another, do you mind stopping putting canceled in quotation? People were hurt by you. Police and policing. Do you really...
And it's like, who are you? You are commenting on behalf of people that are not you.
And for me, I read it as someone stepping into your house like, can you rearrange your furniture? Because that's how I look. Like, because to me, it's like, who... like, why are we so caught up on the quote? Like,
because they feel like I'm invalidating my wrong, but they're also in the same sense validating that it's a cancellation of me as a human, which you're saying what I said really hurt people. Do you not think that canceling someone's entire livelihood
that's what they want
is not hurtful? I know. So I'm like, it's just mental gymnastics over here.
And to speak back, love wants love, pain wants pain. So, do you really never think you'd be canceled? Did you really?
Never think?
Yeah, they wrote that wrong. No hate at all, but you did know those tweets existed.
I did not know the specific tweets. I knew literally that exact time frame of when I used Twitter that it was not a good place.
Right.
I knew that in college, in that period of time in my life, Louis C.K. was my favorite fucking comedian. Everything was, this is gay. Everything was, oh my God, shut up, kill yourself. Everything was like trying to be as cool as you possibly could. The song You're So Gay by Katy Perry, her debut song. I knew that on a mainstream level, these things were reinforced and accepted and normalized. I knew that I internalized that. My family, we would watch Biggest Loser. That was entertainment. So I knew that, yeah, there's definitely shit on Twitter and on Facebook where, like, I was saying some stupid shit that I would never say today. But I didn't ever think I would get canceled from it. I didn't ever feel like, wow, I really need to protect myself right now and go back and do a deep dive on myself, because I naively thought, well, that shows the process. I thought, well, it's the humanness. It's like, yeah, I'm here, but I wasn't always here. And I think that's so cool to be able to see progression of a person over time. And I'm not going to lie, like, yes, deleting those specific tweets was very important to do because of how it was weaponized. Had I not gone back and deleted those tweets and no one wanting to silence me, they wouldn't have hurt anybody because nobody would have seen them.
Would have known.
Because they are 10 years buried.
So here's a question then, I think that, you know, I want to kind of hop on the other side of the fences. While it did document, I think, the journey.
Yeah. That's not worth it.
Yeah. Not that it's worth it, but
it's not more.
It's still being there. It can still trigger people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But and for me, it's still like there's still thousands of other things that can trigger people. But
yeah, absolutely.
Right. So it's kind of it's really like a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation.
Yeah, I think because if I had gone back and deleted, it would have been, oh, she's trying to hide, she's trying to cover stuff up. After my tweets came out, there were some very, very well-loved members of Bachelor that deleted hundreds.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean,
and thousands.
There's the lesson.
Thousands of tweets.
Bloop. Let me delete some stuff. Yeah, there's the lesson.
And, yeah, you're welcome if you want to sacrifice myself, I guess.
There's the martyr. You were saying?
There you go. I was a fucking martyr. But it just... I did naively. I thought, and yeah, I wasn't thinking, oh, well, it could really trigger people. It was like, yeah, that's my documentation and I get to be human. And it's not like there isn't proof or receipts that I think differently than that today. So I just really thought that would mean something. I really thought that accountability being done would mean something. Because if it doesn't, then it kind of feels like we're all fucked. And what's the point? So no, I really never thought I would be canceled because of things I said in 2011.
Cool. All right, let's move on. What's the last song you danced your heart out to?
It was in the car. That song. Bum bum ba-da, ba-da, bum bum ba-da. Bum, bum, ba-da,
Let's move on to the next question.
And my heart goes, oh my God, this feeling's just begun. That song gets me going. And Aftertaste.
Okay.
Aftertaste, love that song right now.
You make me smile. Thank you for being you.
Thanks.
Are you still close with Vanessa? Have you decided on a dissertation topic?
I haven't decided yet, but I think what I want it to be on is the try-fuckery. Stop letting the try-fuckery fuck up your sex life. Or like something like, the subtext would be like how white supremacy, patriarchy, and capitalism, which are both components of white supremacy, are fucking up your sex life.
Okay.
Something like that, but I am not 100% yet.
This is not a question, but some of these are just nuts. You need to inform yourself way more when it comes to the Arab-Israeli conflict.
How you know?
And my question would be, what information are you providing to support her learning? Are you and Vanessa not friends anymore? I am sad. Are they, you think, I mean, are people really that sad? Like, I read this stuff and I'm like, is this, like,
no,
you haven't even said, like, what happened? There's been no one's spoken on it. So what are they sad about? But okay. I love you. Keep being you. You and Vanessa still friends after you degraded the kids, young adults she works with? I don't think you did. Did you do that?
I used the word retarded in a lot of the tweets.
You just used it again.
To reference the point.
Who are the two kids on your stories? Niece, nephews, family, friends? Been wondering.
Who are they?
Those are my children. So watch those comments because I read them. Next one is just Lily.
Lily's doing great.
Are you and Zach still together? Did your view on canceling people change after it happened to you? Well, she's still here, thank God. I don't think you're canceled.
People highly mistook.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't doing it in a way that was actually as meaningful as I think it should have been. Mm-hmm. There were times, absolutely, where I actually called in people and held them in relationship, like Caitlin Bristow about the Chelsea thing, and she talks about that in her stories, where I saw Caitlin as someone who was open to doing the work, who was cool to have a little bit of an uncomfortable conversation, who was open to it, to where I felt like, yeah, I can call this in and, we can talk about it. And that's what we did. And I think that turned out great. I didn't call her out publicly and call for her to be canceled. Other people have shown very little to no effort publicly for me to trust that it's worth my investment and labor to call them in and to hold them in relationship. And yeah, I don't think that calling these things out was super helpful in the sense that they were not mine to hold in accountability. And because that was not the case, I think that left people confused as to like, well, what are they supposed to do then? And that then being interpreted as I'm calling for them to be canceled. And it's like, yeah. So I never called for anyone to be canceled. I specifically, in these moments of calling out these things that are present day upholding white supremacy, that the person should be canceled, or that like we're done with them forever. It was always like a do better, please. Please speak up on this. Like,
don't be performative. Like, do the work.
Yeah. And there were some people
that did
who would reach out and try to ask questions. And that I totally welcomed and was like, yeah. Literally, let's talk about this. Okay, cool. You're open to it, but again, that wasn't until recently. And even that, then it feels exploitive. And I'm like, what? Am I the fucking one everybody's I got to put in all this fucking labor to do this shit?
Right.
These fucking people aren't even mine to deal with. And they're in like 1,000 better fucking positions than I am on this. And like, I'm on the end of this hurting while still extending spoons. So, yeah, I never was calling for other people to be canceled.
Right. So
but I understand how it could be interpreted as that.
No, absolutely. What happened to you and Zach? We already addressed that. Are you okay? And then no questions, sending you mad, respect, and love. Keep honoring your boundaries. No questions, but I love and appreciate your content deeply.
This is so nice.
Are you still with your boyfriend? We haven't seen him for a while. South Lake Union Market tomorrow? Is there a South Lake Union Market?
No, I don't really go to the South Lake Union Market.
They have a market now?
Yeah. It's near Denny Park. I've been there a few times, like
That's
probably not
new,
since
right?
like,
'Cause
no.
when I lived in Queen Anne, they didn't have...
It was like 2018, 2019 I was there and they had it.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I really only went once or twice. I like Ballard.
Okay, it's the first... Oh, excuse me. Yeah. It's the first say since the pandemic. Guessing they're saying it's the first, like, time.
First day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what happened with your boyfriend? Are you still together? Will you be getting... oh, that's a good one. Will you be getting the vaccine? No judgment either way.
I have already got the vaccine. I got Pfizer. I am fully vaccinated. It went well. I had a lot of anxiety about it. I was okay. I trusted science. I reminded myself this is a way forward. This has been a nightmare. It feels like I'm living in an illusion right now with everyone resuming back to normal, and it doesn't feel right. And it feels very invalidating to the folks that are still struggling and haven't actually received community resources or help. And it seems like it literally is almost this Band-Aid on all of the pain that this pandemic has caused, which is really false and feels really disappointing because I think there's so many things in this pandemic that were brought to light, so many things that were like the light was shed on that feel like they're just out the window at this point because people just want to resume back to normal. And I'm not gonna lie, it's fucking with my head a little bit. And I do trust the science, and I am vaccinated, and I am still wearing my mask because I don't know who is or who isn't vaccinated.
Right.
And
I have children that you play with. So.
And the children. And it's an adjustment.
Yeah.
This has been survival. This has been literally our physical bodies at threat.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna rock. I think I'm gonna be rocking my mask for a while. Yeah. I didn't get sick at all during the whole pandemic. So
it's still a pandemic.
Yeah, I didn't get sick at all, and
yeah,
I think that had to do with my mask, and so I'm gonna.
And you was a flight attendant.
Exactly.
You retired though. Thank Lord.
I did. So favorite shower song.
Right now it's Build Me Up Buttercup. I just sing it to myself. I don't even listen to it. Otherwise, it's usually Creep.
Okay. What do you think happens to us when we die?
Reminds me of the Billie Eilish album, which is amazing. I think that in science, our body decomposes, right? But I do think spiritually that like our lives, our legacies, our expressions and values continue on through the people that we've touched throughout life.
Okay. How do you stay positive?
I look at my plants and I play with Naya and Calais. Dead ass.
I always tell people, like, if you ever in a funk or depressed, just go around kids and they give you great perspective.
Literally, throughout the whole pandemic, throughout all of being canceled, Naya's just like, let's play truth or dare.
Yeah.
Let's play tag. Like, I'm just like, you're great.
All right. How are you again? And then
that's so nice that people are even asking that.
Would you ever consider sharing your juice or other wellness recipes? I want to try.
If you scroll, see, people want to do this on Twitter. If you want to scroll way back on Instagram, same time frame, 2011 to like 2014, was a juicing fiend. Mm-hmm. I was juicing all the time. I have no friends. It's me and my boyfriend and all my foster kittens and all my little juice in my garden. And yeah, I think I do want to share more of that. I think I also feel caution on sharing the things that I eat and make, because people often assume that for health and assume that for my body type, which societally tells you is good. Society tells you is good to some extent.
No, I'm just saying I think you should be eating more and be bigger. I mean, you share my daughter's shirt sizes, so I think you need to.
Okay, yes, I definitely.
God. I don't think that's healthy, but I'm not judging, but
yes. Yeah. Some days I struggle with appetite when I'm depressed and I'm being canceled. You needed to feed me then. But yeah, I struggle with sharing that stuff too, because I know people make a lot of assumptions and I just naturally have a thinner body. Mm-hmm. And majority of the people in the wellness space are thin-bodied, and majority of them are pushing juices and these diets, and I don't want to be that. I love sharing my garden. I love, in the summer making food and sharing that. But I also just do feel like it has to come with so many qualifiers and almost trigger warnings that it feels like there is a great potential for that to make other people feel like shit about themselves. Mm-hmm. That I don't want to do. Right. That I want to be like, I like sharing certain brands, and companies of vegan food that I love. And at the same time, I don't want people to think, oh, well, that's all I ate that day.
Right.
Or I don't know. There's just too much around that feels, I do it rarely. Mm-hmm. I could absolutely be a wellness blogger, if you will. And my whole feed could be that stuff. And I'm sure I would probably, make some good money and have that influence thing. But I
doesn't speak to you.
It doesn't speak to me.
Are you still friends with Vanessa G? Since your pronouns include they, them, do you consider yourself non-binary?
So I include they, them because gender is a social construct and the binary is bullshit. Mm-hmm. And I also don't take offense. I am okay with people to referring to me as they. And I also think there's so many different coins to this. On one hand, it's helping normalize that it's not just trans folks who can identify as they. It's not just non-binary folks who can identify as they. And there's so many parts of that other people can disagree with, right? I think for me, it's just acknowledging that, yes, I am much more femme, but also gender is a social construct, and the binary is white supremacy. Mm-hmm. So.
All right. So Obvi. You don't need me to validate. It's just short for obvious.
Obvi.
Is that not how you say it?
I don't know how you said it, but it sounded like obvi. Obvi.
Okay. You don't need me to validate this, but you're a badass bitch, and I admire you.
Thank you.
You didn't delete old shit, and I think that's honestly brave and acknowledges your growth. So see, this damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, was my thought process. But
wow.
How is your cat doing?
She's still with me. I got to take her to the vet, but I'm like, I got other expenses, Lily. Sorry.
Not a question, but just wanted to say that I think the reason you were canceled is stupid. How do I know if I'm bisexual, having only been in straight relationships so far?
You can still have only been in straight relationships and like sexually be bi. Mm-hmm. There are many folks who go practically their whole lives mm-hmm. in straight relationships and are not straight. Mm-hmm. But I also can't tell you how you know if you're bi.
Right.
That's for you to figure out.
Is your practice at stake?
So what has publicly been... Yes, Rob?
No, go ahead. I was just shaking my head, but go ahead.
This has publicly been petitioned for. This is publicly circulated. The Department of Health made a public statement that they are doing investigation. So because there is an investigation, I will wait further to say anything on that. But it is something I'm dealing with and that I am cooperating in. And
there were a lot of investigations, though, right? Can you speak on that?
Look at you.
I can ask the question. I'm like Oprah. I can ask the question. You can be like, that's none of your business. Like, I have a right to ask a question. You have the right not to answer.
Absolutely. So. Bernie said that shit too. He said, ask me a reasonable question. I'll give you a reasonable answer. I will speak more on that when investigations have closed and when Department of Health also makes a statement as to the outcome.
I understand. When can I take you out? This person even worried about partners or straight up. When can I take you out?
That's rare.
Are you still seeing Zach? Are you and Vanessa still friends? Are you and Vanessa from Bachelors still close? Are you and Vanessa, she wrote band, but are you and Vanessa still friends? What is something that never fails to make you laugh uncontrollably?
I mean, my first thought is like Nyan Calais.
Yeah, I was going to say like...
When Calais like, my turn, my turn, my turn.
Or yelling like mommy and
oh my
demonic.
God. He just turned 3 and like he's so sweet. He's so great. And he's like getting into this phase where he will yell mama, but he gets taken over by a demon.
Yeah, I want to like record that and make it my ringtone for Leonore. Like,
he's like, mama. Mama.
And then
Mama.
it just goes crazy.
Mama.
Yeah.
And I fucking lose it.
All right. So what's something that has brought you joy recently? It could be the same answer.
It's so bad. I feel so bad laughing at it. But he's so sweet. And he goes into this, Mama.
Oh, I love this next question. Fellow Cancer.
Holla.
Tips to feel the good emotions deeply, not just mine plus others. Pain/anger.
So you want to feel not only the good emotions.
This has nothing to do with being a Cancer. This is everybody.
It is everybody, but
Yeah.
Cancers we're emotional.
Geminis are emotional. I'm not a Gemini, but Geminis
Sagittarius over here.
They already knew.
Yeah, so they want to feel good emotions deeply. Oh, they want to feel the good emotions deeply, not just
mine, others,
theirs and others' pain and anger. I think you have to first get to a place of believing that you are worthy of feeling those feelings.
Trusting your emotions.
Of understanding that you inherently, without doing anything, are worthy and deserving of experiencing those good feelings. No matter what you do in your life, the fact that you exist, you have value, and you deserve to be able to feel the large spectrum of experiences and emotions that life offers us. And you are robbing yourself of that. If you are only allowing yourself to sit in pain, you are telling yourself that you are only deserving of hurt and of pain. And that is false. You don't have to do anything. And a lot of people go into this like comparison of pain, this oppression Olympics, this other people are experiencing a lot more pain, so mine's really not that bad. I'm going to be okay. Or they interpret it as, there's just so much pain, and if I'm happy, then I'm invalidating that pain. You have every right to exist in a space of joy in the midst of pain. And I think even the pandemic is a perfect example of that. When everything's happening with the pandemic, there's so much heaviness there. There's so much intensity and pain and anger and frustration and confusion and loss. And honestly, what better time than those times to give yourself the gift that you have as a human to experience something like pleasure or joy? Isn't that part of what, like you're robbing yourself of the experience of life, I think, in that. And it just don't make no sense. You can't do it to yourself. Because if you're going to sit in other people's pain and anger, or even, feel hurt at the loss of life, yet rob yourself of being able to even enjoy life, that don't make no sense.
My question would probably be why are you choosing to do that? I think
because it's also part of what society tells us. We also live in a grind culture, right? Where you got to be busy all the time. If you're coming into the call, I've just been so busy. I didn't even get to have my lunch break today. It sends a message that you are so productive, that you are successful, that you are busy, that you are needed. And we internalize all of that. So girl, sis, person, you got to feel that pleasure. You got to feel that joy.
What are you currently reading?
I'm currently reading, what's it called?
The Grass.
No, I am reading Braiding Sweetgrass.
Oh.
No, I'm still reading that. The Four Agreements. I love that book, but there's an extension. The companion book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Those are my Bibles.
Doing that one. How the Body Keeps the Score is one that I'm reading, about how trauma sits in our body. Mm-hmm. And that's been fantastic. Yeah, those are the ones.
Injustice in the World, and not just one. Then there's a Flag of Palestine. Mm-hmm. Thank you for speaking up about Palestine. It's nice to see someone speak about all. Mm-hmm. What's your astrology big three, if you are comfortable sharing? Says that the big three, like the sun, moon, and the...
Yeah, I don't remember. We did an episode for my birthday, so if you want to scroll back, I think it says it there. I forget.
I sent you a whole thing. You must didn't read it. I need you to...
Apologize if this has been asked before, but what made you decide to become a therapist and specifically go into sexology? Episodes 81, 82, and 83, I go into what to look for in a therapist, how I became a therapist and being a therapist. So I kind of cover that there. Part of my decision to go into sexology and not just in mental health is understanding how much more stigmatized sexual health and sexual pleasure, which is a part of our sexual health, is than mental health. Mental health and mental illness have so much awareness and have so many like resources and money in that. And that is so lacking. So lacking in sexual health. And it's
That's
crucial.
Just crazy to me.
And it's so crucial. And honestly, a lot of the mental health advocacy has been like whitewashed, has been capitalized on. And I kind of don't fuck with it, honestly. And all of that has kind of been reinforced by everything that's happened to me even, and kind of seeing how people have responded. But yeah, I think sex and the sexuality and the giant role it plays in our life and our relationships and our health is so underfunded, lacks incredible awareness, and it makes a huge difference. So much of even our medical care and our overall life satisfaction would be different with quality sexual education and freedom to have sexual exploration and to unpack that sexual shame that is instilled and conditioned in us throughout our lives.
I mean, there's a lot of money made in shame. So.
Exactly.
Capitalism.
White supremacy.
Favorite local to Seattle restaurants for takeout,
can
delivery.
we just start our own podcast called White Supremacy, Capitalism, Patriarchy?
No. So yeah, favorite local to Seattle restaurants for takeout, delivery. This person is not dining in person still.
Neither am I, boo. I love Plum Bistro in Capitol Hill. Vegan, black-owned, bomb-ass.
You've been dining in Renton a lot.
Yeah, I like
What's the
Boston
name of that
Vegetarian for their pho.
No, you were tearing up the...
Oh my gosh, it's a new Thai place, Ocha, in Renton, and they got this garlic crispy tofu. It is the best damn tofu I've ever had in my entire fucking life. It is like garlic and like ginger, and it's so crispy, and it's like, oh, I don't even know what it is, but it's fantastic. Honestly, I like do a lot of PCC, but they are not requiring customers to wear masks anymore. So I'm very disappointed and upset with PCC. And now I'm grocery shopping at Central Co-op instead.
Are you a nanny also outside of Instagram?
All right. Before we answer this, we are going to stop for today. You will have to tune in next week for our part 3, where we conclude this lovely Q&A.
All right, that does it for today's episode. Thank you so much for making it all the way through and keeping your ears, your hearts, and your minds open. It would mean so much to me if you could take a second or two after listening to this episode to leave a review on iTunes and let me know what you're enjoying about the show. I love reading, what your favorite episodes are, where you guys listen, and definitely feel free to share this with a friend. I mean, part of how we break down the stigmas around these topics is by talking about them, right? And sharing them with more people. So definitely share the podcast. And again, really wanting to include all of you in this podcast. So if you have questions or you want to share a thought or an experience, please send in a voice memo to ask.letstalkaboutit@gmail.com. And I'm really excited to keep having these conversations and breaking down these stigmas. So thank you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll talk to you next time.